3 days after Prince Harry's BBC interview, the royals respond quietly but powerfully. Just 72 hours after Prince Harry's explosive interview with the BBC aired, the royal family made a very different kind of statement, one without words.
There was no time to think whether or not this was something that was wise to do. My understanding is that he reached out to the BBC, his people did. They hadn't asked him initially, but he reached out. He wanted to do this interview and he had messages he wanted to say. He wanted to say that he wasn't in touch with his father. He wanted to say he didn't know how long his father had left to live. Now, of course, that's an alarming thing when the monarchy depends on stability. For his son to go and say that is deeply concerning.
Every time he has come, King Charles has offered him a lodging at, wait for it, Buckingham Palace. And guess what, Meghan? Buckingham Palace is empty at the moment, right? Charles is at Clarence House, William is in Windsor, so he could have the run of Buckingham Palace. And if he was at Buckingham Palace, he would receive full security. Guess what? Harry said no.
King Charles, Queen Camilla, Prince William, Princess Kate, and their 3 children all appeared together on the balcony of Buckingham Palace.
Years-long battle. Prince Harry lost his fight for government-funded security when he is in the UK. Following the legal ruling, Prince Harry ran to the media, shock, and participated in a sit-down interview with the BBC, claiming he does not see a world where he could bring Meghan and the kids back to the UK.
They were smiling, waving to the crowd and marking victory in Europe Day, a historic moment for the country.
Was when he said that if anything were to happen to him because he had been denied security, then blood would effectively be on the hands of the royal family. How do you then, in the next sentence, say, I want reconciliation with my family? I just found this interview deeply alarming. I found it affecting in parts. You know, Harry is still a little boy who has tremendous trauma at the heart of who he is, but it's delusional in so many ways as well.
It wasn't just a royal appearance. It was a message. Meanwhile, Prince Harry had hoped his BBC interview would help clear his name and win him some sympathy from the public.
No time to think whether or not this was something that was wise to do. My understanding is that he reached out to the BBC, his people did. They hadn't asked him initially, but he reached out. He wanted to do this interview and he had messages he wanted to say. He wanted to say that he wasn't in touch with his father. He wanted to say he didn't know how long his father had left to live. Now, of course, that's an alarming thing when the monarchy depends on stability. For his son to go and say that is deeply concerning.
Instead, it had the opposite effect. According to insiders,
Every time he has come, King Charles has offered him a lodging at, wait for it, Buckingham Palace. And guess what, Meghan? Buckingham Palace is empty at the moment, right? Charles is at Clarence House, William is in Windsor, so he could have the run of Buckingham Palace. And if he was at Buckingham Palace, he would receive full security. Guess what? Harry said no.
it sparked outrage within the palace and left Harry in such a state that he's now reportedly seeking therapy to cope with the fallout.
72 hours after Harry's BBC interview, King Charles and Queen Camilla with Prince William, Kate, and their 3 kids kept calm and carried on, posing on the balcony of Buckingham Palace today, celebrating victory in Europe.
But what really made headlines was how King Charles responded, and it was far from subtle.
That has even royal commentators calling it nauseating PR spin.
How it all started? Before we get to that, let's rewind a bit. After recently losing a court case about his request for government-provided security in the UK, Prince Harry sat down with the BBC. His goal seemed to be to explain his side of the story.
It was highly incongruous, and she is living in La La Land. Look, I couldn't even watch all of this interview. This was nauseating. Honestly, it is so, it's so full of adjectives. It was inspiring. They're enchanting. You know, this is amazing. The way these 2 women spoke, I don't know what the takeouts were for anybody, frankly. But what I think is that Harry is speaking his truth, which is that he's a very dejected and traumatized human being. And Meghan is projecting her truth. She knows that her brand has to to run on positivity and optimism. So she's just telling a different story. She is a brand. She's an actress. We know that she can project whatever she wants to. And so, it's all about how much Harry loves her and how happy they are. But how can two stories that are so disparate run in alignment?
But rather than calming tensions, the interview stirred up even more drama. During the conversation, Harry revealed that he was not in regular contact with his father. Then, in a moment that shocked many, he casually said he wasn't sure how much time King Charles had left to live. This comment came across as careless and even cruel to some viewers. He also went on to claim that certain unnamed people were trying to put his life in danger, calling the situation a setup. He implied that if anything happened to him, the royal family would be responsible. These statements weren't just controversial, they were explosive.
Front and centre. And of course, Lilibet and Archie aren't working royals, so they're not photographed at school, they're not photographed at Trooping the Colour and things like that, which is fair enough that their identity should be protected, but it also makes you feel sad because it's another nail in the coffin for their relationship with their own little cousins. They don't know.
And that's no fault of that.
What made it more unsettling was that this wasn't an off-the-cuff chat. According to journalist Angela Mollard, Harry himself reached out to the BBC to set the interview up. It was planned, and many believe it had less to do with his safety and more to do with staying in the spotlight. Interestingly, King Charles had offered Harry a chance to stay at Buckingham Palace during his trip with full protection. Harry declined, suggesting this wasn't about where he stayed, but about control over the situation.
I think that there is a lot of disjointed behavior going on behind the scenes. I mean, we know that Harry wasn't even in Montecito for Archie's 6th birthday party this week. He was in Vegas launching some random project that no one's ever heard of. So if you're not even there for your son's birthday party, you're clearly very tapped out of the family. And that just is kind of the cherry on top for this week. You've got Meghan, who's trying to push this completely different brand of happy families and, let's all hold hands and jump around in a circle. And Harry is clearly not okay. And I agree, Harry probably needs to seek some sort of therapist to help him with whatever issues he's going through, because I don't think Meghan's going to help him. She's in her complete own world.
The palace hits back without saying much. Just hours after the interview aired, Buckingham Palace did something rare. They issued a public statement. That doesn't happen often. The palace reminded the public that Harry's security case had already been thoroughly reviewed by the courts more than once. Each time, the result was the same: he did not meet the requirements for state-funded protection. In short, the matter was settled. There would be no more discussion. Then came the public appearance. Charles, Camilla, William, Kate, and their children stood together on the Buckingham Palace balcony. Harry, of course, was not there. The message? Clear as day, the family is moving forward without him. Prince William's quiet fury. Sources close to Prince William say he is especially angry not just about the interview itself, but because Harry brought their father's health into the conversation so publicly. That crossed a line. Critics believe Meghan Markle may have played a role in how this was handled. The timing, the emotional appeal, and the media strategy all seemed calculated. Even Harry's delivery during the interview raised eyebrows. He reportedly said, over 100 times, which made the entire thing feel awkward and unpolished. Still, Harry claimed he wanted reconciliation. He said he wanted his kids to know their roots and homeland. But behind the scenes, he reportedly missed his son's birthday, and those close to him say he's emotionally distant from his family. That's why, according to reports, he's now starting therapy. Meghan's podcast appearance adds fuel to the fire. As if things weren't tense enough, Meghan Markle recently made her first ever appearance as a podcast guest. She was featured on the Jane Kern-Lima show, and the response from the public wasn't great.
Now, a staggering 2/3 of Brits are calling for Harry and Meghan to be stripped of their HRH titles. A new poll by Find Out Now has revealed that most of the public is supporting the king in this family feud, ongoing family feud, after Harry's bombshell BBC interview. It follows the Court of Appeal's decision to not overturn the ruling on his security in the UK.
Many said the whole episode felt overly rehearsed. Meghan used a lot of buzzwords: empowerment, gratitude, motherhood, but critics felt it lacked sincerity. Some said it sounded more like a PR campaign than a real conversation. One viral comment online read, "This isn't a podcast, it's a commercial for Meghan's brand." This added to the frustration for those who felt that Meghan and Harry were saying one thing while doing another. If Harry wants to reconnect with his family, why keep doing public interviews and podcasts that create more division? Family dynamics on full display. Even the way Meghan and Harry handle their children's privacy became a talking point. For their son Archie's 6th birthday, Meghan shared a photo showing him from behind, gazing at a sunset. Some praised this as a way to protect his privacy, but others pointed out how different it was from the way William and Kate raised their kids. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis regularly appear at public events. They're growing up in the spotlight, part of the royal tradition. Meanwhile, Archie and Lilibet are kept mostly out of view, protected, yes, but also separate from the family and the life their cousins are growing into. King Charles draws the line. King Charles didn't respond to the interview with anger or a dramatic speech. He didn't need to. By appearing on that balcony without Harry, he made his feelings known in a way that was powerful and unmistakable. For years, Harry and Meghan have shared their grievances in documentaries, interviews, and Harry's memoir. But this time, Charles said, enough! By letting the court's decision speak for itself and keeping the public statement short and clear, the king showed that he's done arguing. It wasn't just about security. It was about drawing a line, the future of their royal title. Now, the question on everyone's mind is, will Harry and Meghan lose their royal titles? A growing number of people in the UK believe the titles Duke and Duchess of Sussex